When I was in your position, you saw me as an enemy. I so badly want your point of view and how it has changed. How do you feel like, is Buildertrend now your best friend? Or do you still kind of like, oh God, I got it?
I think it's from the standpoint of where I am now, it is a lot more helpful. I think as a sub, your main focus is the job.
But we've been always kind of playing around with the idea. And I was like, whenever you're ready, I'm ready. Whenever you're ready, I'm ready. So when you reached out to me, I was like, oh my God, this is it. It's happening. It's on. We're doing this. So I was really happy. So finally, this is going to be like a, when I was in your position, you saw me as an enemy. I know you didn't, but it was always like I would come in like not barking orders, but more of, here's what we need to do. And then you're like, oh God, it's like, now that you're doing that, I so badly want your point of view and how it has changed. But I think before I even jump to all of that, I want you to just introduce yourself and how you got in construction and how we kind of met, and we can kind of go a little bit further on that.
Sure. So I'm Brandon Nyquist. I started in construction pretty much right out of high school. My dad was a contractor, and so I started working with him. And then moved into doing kind of more of a carpentry focused role for several different companies throughout the years before starting my own company, which I did for about 7 years. That was mostly carpentry focused. So I've been in the industry for almost 20 years. Like I said, I ran my own company for about 7 before starting here.
All right. Awesome. And for those 7 years before that, by the way, compliments all the time from everybody was, who did your cabinets? They were on point. Like, I think every person who ever came to measure our countertops and how they do their digital version of it with lasers and all that, the guy would always pull me to the side and was like, you know what, whoever installed these cabinets, I haven't seen them this good in a long time. So kudos on that, by the way, to you. So me and you have known each other for, God, I feel like right now it's for maybe 12, 13 years, if not even more. Yeah, somewhere around that. So after me and you meeting through him, I know that you did some stuff. I thought you were actually helping him with his painting, but not realizing your potential was carpentry. And then as you kind of said to me, hey, this is what I do. And I didn't want to like come to you. I didn't want to feel like I'm poaching you from him to say like whatever until you're like, okay, we're done. I'm on my own, and I'm going to do this and this. And that's when me and you kind of started working more on a regular basis. And I know that when we started working a lot more, we were involved with Lowe's as well at that time. And it was a lot of missing information that we would get from their designers. And I would always have you try to like, okay, Brando, I need you to do your magic. I need you to make this happen, even though we don't have, half of the necessary. But the next stage is scheduled and we got to move on. And I know you hated me for that. I feel like, God, we could go for so long. And I always wanted to, I don't know what it is, but our personalities are so close and we're easygoing and we're just, happy-go-lucky, smiley guys. I always wanted to like offer the position to you and be like, Brando, like, do you want to do the project management? But when you went on your own, I was like, I don't want to insult the man. He's starting his endeavors, his adventures. I want him to figure it out on his own. And I was always like, I figured you would be a perfect person for that, dealing with people and dealing with customers and clients, and very knowledgeable in when it comes to carpentry, all of it. And I was like, okay, shouldn't I? But I never came out to you directly.
No.
And I was thinking about it afterwards, how it all landed, and after me posting looking for a job and you reached out to me, I was like, why didn't I make that call? So I felt like half of me felt guilty that I didn't like personally reach out to you,
Oh.
But the other half was like, I hope he understands, like I didn't overlook him. I just didn't want it to be like I'm insulting you in some way by offering you this,
Sure.
And that was my take on it. But I remember me and you were talking about it even. God.
I think it came up several times probably throughout the years. I mean,
And we've been always kind of playing around with the idea. And I was like, whenever you're ready, I'm ready. Whenever you're ready, I'm ready. So when you reached out to me, I was like, oh my God, this is it. It's happening. It's on. We're doing this. So I was really happy. But now that it's been about a year right now, a year and a couple of months in this role. Tell me what it is that mostly surprised you about, like, the whole scope of work and the view that you have on it now compared to what you had before when you were just kind of like, doing a portion of it, as a subcontractor.
Yeah, I think as a subcontractor, you're really just trying to get in, get a job done, and move on to the next one. And if there's any hiccups, project manager or contractor, I mean, they're going to get the call and the brunt of the frustration and all that, which, I mean, you experienced from me many times. But I think that has helped me in making the transition into being a project manager, just because I know the frustration that can come from not having things ready for you when you get to a job site. And so I think that really gives me a somewhat unique mindset of how to make sure that things are ready for subs and how the information's there for them and material and everything.
Yeah, I feel like going through that and some of those times when we didn't have all those materials, I definitely see that you take extra care and extra steps to make sure that you have everything there for your guys before they get there, and that it's not something that it's like, oh, I just made a trip and now I have to reschedule it. So I definitely see that. But I was just dying to ask that question, like, as now, it's like, I feel like, how it is with guys usually, once you jump from, being in a field to be in a management position anywhere, it almost feels like that they look at you as a traitor and as an enemy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he's one of them. He doesn't do anything anymore. All he does is, drives around in the truck and messes around all day. It's like, because that's how I feel like everybody, like half of the guys that come and approach me is like, well, you don't do anything. All you do is drive around and smile. I'm like, boy, if you were just one day in my, like, walk one day in my shoes, man, just see like stuff I got to deal with and see what your reaction would be. Do you have guys that are like messing with you? Like, especially the ones that on a personal level?
Yeah, they definitely got some of that from the guys that I, worked with a lot when I was running my own stuff. Yeah, it's a lot more of that. But I can see the value in what we do, especially on the level where we're doing the amount of jobs that we're doing, that there's just no way of handling all that without having people in the background that are getting things set up and getting jobs going, that just, it wouldn't be possible to do without that.
Right. Contractor before? Brandon was a subcontractor before. So Brandon used to do all my carpentry and finish carpentry, basically all the woodwork, installing doors, windows, trim, kitchens, bathrooms, everything that has to do anything with wood. That was kind of like his niche was finished carpentry. I mean, he did a little bit of framing here and there if needed, but he does the delicate, like his cuts are good and his cuts are, perfect when it comes to installing the finished part of lumber stuff usually.
What's the difference that you've experienced when working for as a subcontractor for other homeowners? Do you usually just work with general contractors or,
Yeah, I started working pretty much only as a sub, just because I didn't have my own customer base. And then as time went on, I did start getting my own customers. And really for the last few years of doing my own company, I wasn't doing much for SMC.
Jesus, I feel like we got into this is going on maybe like 3 years ago or so. Mm-hmm. Was it? No, it was right before COVID.
Yeah.
It was right before COVID.
Yep.
I reached out to you and I was like, Brando, I have this and this coming down the pipeline. Do you have any interest? And then I was like, oh, on top of that, I wanted you to do the finished carpentry in my house. And you're like,
oh, yeah.
I'll get around to it. I'll get you some numbers. Yeah. I'll get around to it. I'll get you some numbers. I'll get around to it. I was like, Brando, like I built the damn house. Like
the house is ready.
I need the numbers. Like, I'm like, are you even interested? He's like, I am, but I'm so busy. I just can't do it. I can't commit to it. Yeah. So I was like, okay, I won't bother you. But I'm like, whenever it slows down, like, let me know. And I'm like, if I have something that comes up, I'll call you and be like, hey, are you interested and do you have the ability to take this on? Great. If not, I won't bother you with it. But it came to the point where I think you and Darren were just
we were booking out, for the whole summer pretty much by spring.
Yep.
And I mean, when it's just the two of us, it's
Yeah.
just, you move a lot slower through projects than if you got a
Yep.
bunch of different subs to call on. But yeah, we were really busy.
Yeah.
What would a homeowner, like, where would a homeowner see the difference between working with a contractor? Because you've been in both positions.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're working with a general contractor, and before you're a subcontractor yourself. So as a homeowner, where do you see them the difference of working with either one?
Yeah, I think if you're dealing more with a one-man operation, there's a lot more chances that it's no fault of theirs necessarily, but it's generally one guy that's filling all the roles. And so that guy's usually, I mean, extremely busy, probably trying to do a few jobs at once. So there's a little more of a tendency that things might fall through the cracks. Slower response times from them. It might take longer to get to people's projects because they just have a backlog of stuff they need to do to finish other projects. And I think with a little bit larger company, you get a little bit more personalized attention from different people, whether it's the designers or the project managers. And I think I would guess that people feel a little more secure in starting a project with a little bit bigger company because they can see that there's been a lot of time and attention put on their project even before starting.
Yeah, I feel like that's exactly, you kind of hit it right on the head with that when it comes to, when you're working directly with a guy. I mean, we have so many one-offs that run their own business and they do their own thing that are amazing. And
Yeah,
great.
they can have great finished products.
Like not just like the knowledge and how much, they're true craftsmen of their craft.
Yeah, for sure.
However, is like to get them on the line and to get them to, one thing is to get them to answer. Another thing is to get them to commit to a schedule of when you can get in.
Yep.
And then third thing is to complete it within the time allotted for you. I feel like in one way, we're that, I don't even know, entity that bridges that gap because we have few different guys in all those fields that, like, if one is busy, we can use the other one, And I know that, as you know very well from one of our guys who's in HVAC, just to get a hold of him, it's like, pulling teeth.
A few days later, you might hear something.
Yeah. But at the same time, when he comes and when he shows up and when he does what he says he's going to do, I don't think there's anybody better,
That's great,
out there that can do the job. But that's the biggest part where varies from homeowner to work with direct with the person versus working with a general contractor. And another thing, when you're working with a general contractor, we usually work with same people that were, kind of like all those jobs are going directly to them, where they will respond to us a little bit quicker based upon how much workload, even though they're not our direct employees, we can't tell them what to do. We can't tell them, you're going to be there Monday and work from 9 to 5 or whatever. It's all contract based on, you perform the work and you do what you're going to say. And then we pay you for it. It's kind of same like with the customer, but we have more pull because they know that like 5 other jobs are coming from us as well. So it's like if we need something done, somebody else usually gets bumped off in order for us to get that done. Yes, maybe that might not be fair. Yes, maybe that might be whatever, but it's usually going to be like somebody who's going to get rescheduled is somebody who they never worked with before. And if that person is there for, I don't know, let's just say change the faucet, well, that faucet's going to get rescheduled to something else because they're working on something like this. That's the usually what we see.
Yeah, we're their bread and butter.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
And if these other guys are only giving them 2 jobs a year, who's going to get the priority?
We have some guys that work with us. They have hundreds of thousands of dollars in contracts with us in a year that they do with us. So as Brandon said, they know that they don't have to do anything other than show up to get that money. We're a secure check. Ernie. Stop it, Ernie.
He started barking.
He started barking at Shauna, so I'm just going to repeat myself. So those guys, as Brandon said, we are their, bread and butter when it comes to it. They don't have to do anything in order to get those sales. They just have to show up. So, of course, they don't want to ruin that relationship, and they want to make sure that they can, come through and do what we need done. But at the same time, it might be a cost to, somebody else who they don't do that much work with. So that's kind of a difference as, that outweigh working directly. Another thing that it's a really big one coming from other standpoint is like the communication is I would say a lot better, where we actually do inform our clients of what, when, where, how, where most of the times like, okay, well, I had some time now, can I squeeze it in? And it's usually at the last moment, last minute, that kind of thing. So it sucks on planning. Our insurance is 5 times bigger than theirs. That's another thing that, like, whereas when you look at that, like of how much insurance we have to have for, doing certain tasks, and how much they do compared to, just sticking to one task that they do. But that's all like kind of logistics of it, and that.
I think insurance is something that no one really thinks about, but it could be a big thing to know.
I mean,
for a homeowner, like, okay, if I was to work with a subcontractor who, or anyone who has a smaller, insurance, a smaller size insurance, means if they mess up any how or something goes wrong, then chances are they have to pay more down the line.
It depends what it is and how it is, right? So, for example, some of the guys have certain limits that they do not exceed. Most of the insurance policies that are written are like $1 million policy for, but it's got to be like XYZ of what happened, that policy gets kicked in for what needs to happen for the homeowner to get, to be put back a whole. Ours are a lot bigger than that, and then where this could be a big part that people don't think about, and it could ruin somebody and ruin somebody's entire business. Now, imagine this is a condo, and you're working on the 20th floor, and you are leaking. You do something, and the water is leaking, and it's hitting 20 floors down below. Just imagine the damage that is.
Right.
That would exceed anybody's single policy by simply, putting on some trim and nailing a water line, and you didn't even know. So that's kind of where those things come to play.
Yeah.
Brandon, I know one thing that was annoying when you were in the field, and not just to you, but to everybody else, was our software Buildertrend. I wanted to ask you this too. How do you feel like, is Buildertrend now your best friend, or is Buildertrend, do you still kind of like, oh God, I gotta use it?
I think it's from the standpoint of where I am now, it is a lot more helpful.
Yeah.
I think as a sub, your main focus is the job. And for most subs, the bookkeeping, the organization, all that is always going to come secondary. And then for a contractor to come in and say, hey, I got this software that I want you to use that I have no idea what it is or how it works or anything, and I'm just starting to get emails and texts about notifications of, scheduling, and I don't know what's what and whose job it is and anything. That to me from a subcontractor standpoint was frustrating, but from the standpoint of the contractor, I think it is very helpful just to keep everything organized. It's very easy to go in and find details about any job that we have going, and it's easy to add photos or details of where the jobs are at and what needs to happen next and all that. So
I think like what I used to get the most, like you just mentioned it, was people were like, okay, man, I get an email, I get a text message, and I get I don't know what else. And I'm like, but you realize that's in your preferred settings. Like you can change that, They're like, what settings?
Right,
like,
right.
No. Like
right.
you don't need to get all 3 of them, You can choose which notification you prefer, and you can get it. And that was the thing where like, I get 70 notifications for this one job, and it's just annoying,
Yeah.
And I'm like, but you control that. I can't.
Right.
I don't actually send you a physical text message.
Right.
I hope
right.
you know. So that was the one thing I wanted to ask you, because I mean, obviously, as you see, it helps us immensely. It's literally like your personal assistant in a pocket that keeps everything in check, keeps all your communications in one place, keeps all of your, from your subcontractors to your clients to everything else. Scheduling and so on and so forth. I mean, with us, it goes even further to like bidding and so on. But I just feel like it's like I always said that it's like the greatest freaking tool that you can put and implement in construction. There's other ones too, for sure, and that they work for different things. But this, I just feel like it helps everybody be better, and it helps everybody keep it all in one place, because God knows I did it for so many years without something like this. Man, my foldering system and write it down, and the instant information that I didn't have that I left in the office, it was painful.
Yeah.
It was, I felt like I did 10 times more running around, you know, than I do right now. But all I wanted, like, I was so excited about it that it's like, okay, it should help you too if you just give it a chance, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of the guys, they did really, you know, commit to it, and they just, you know, played around their settings a little bit to what they preferred. But a lot of them were like, you know how it is just to teach somebody a new trick.
Yeah.
It was damn near impossible, let alone anything else.
Yeah. I think there's maybe features of it that aren't very useful as a subcontractor, and that's fine.
Yep.
That are kind of, those features are kind of given to everyone, whether you're a contractor or a subcontractor.
Yep.
But I think just the ability to have information and to be able to see a schedule and all that is definitely helpful for a subcontractor also. And obviously as a contractor, I mean, with 5 or 6 people in the office that do different parts of a project, to not have that and to have to figure out a way to organize everything otherwise would be impossible.
I know. That was another thing. Like, you know, right now the way we do it, we're so reliant on it, and you know, I mean, we're using. I feel like even at its capabilities of what it offers right now, we're maybe tapping into 50% of it.
Yeah.
You know? We're not utilizing it for its full potential, but that part that we are utilizing and that part that we are using, I feel like it's a lifesaver to us, and
for sure.
it really puts everybody's, like you said, between all of us, everybody can put an input in it. I can double check, like if something, you know, I get a notification no matter where I'm at, you know, and it's like, oh, I wanted to see that picture. Okay, that came out good, you know. Or it's like, ooh, we got a problem. I got to make some calls. What are you thinking about that? You know, it's like, I saw that it's questionable, but I just want to ask before you do this. You know, so it's like, it helps kind of keep us all in, you know, even though I'm not even maybe managing that job, but I just saw that and I wanted to, you know, just make sure that, you know, it gets done right. Or, you know.
There's been so many times too, just where after a job is done, questions might come up about something that's behind the walls, or you know, was this done? How was this done? I think this might be done wrong, you know. And you can go in and look at the pictures of what walls looked like before the drywall was up, and you can see exactly what was going on and answer questions super easily that otherwise you might have to tear a wall open.
Exactly. It helped us so many times when people did want to do something or secure something, and they're like, ooh, I hope you know, there's a stud somewhere in there, you know, it's like, oh, hold on, let me just see real quick. Oh, there's one right here. You know, we can do it that way. Or, I mean, it helps us. And then my biggest thing is, like, right now that I think I've been talking to Carissa and Shauna, like, to put all of our information in there also for our products and paints and everything else, you know, so that when the job closes down the line, you know, customer comes in, it's like, I had a problem with this and this, you know, do you know what that, you know, paint was? Do you know what this was? You know, oh yeah, I can have that when I click on a button, you know, pull up a job and look into it. So yeah, I definitely love it, but I wanted to get your take on it, you know, from both sides, you know.
I like it a lot more now than I did then.
I wondered. Reggie, you had a question.
Yes, so this is for Brandon. Did you work, Sinan, did you work as a subcontractor before? Or
I did,
Okay.
yeah.
So, because you're the owner right now as a general contractor, I'm not going to ask you this, I'm going to ask Brandon, who's working here as a project manager. So my question is, when you were running your own business as a subcontractor, and there it was a one-man team, I believe, right?
One or two, yeah.
And you were the one, you know, managing everything, talking to client, this, that, and everything. Now, what's the difference in terms of getting the job done, not for the homeowner, but inside, like, you've seen the difference when you have a team of people who are, one is communicating with them, one is getting the designs and all those things out, one is just managing the project, and a group of people, you know, team getting the job done, everything all together. Like, what's the big difference that you had between the two to get the job done?
Sure.
Like, if you list it down, like, okay, these were the problems that we always faced as a subcontractor, and now because we have a team, this is what I've seen the biggest difference. Like, these are the things that's difference for me as, you know.
Yeah, I think probably the big thing is just that our workflow is a lot more efficient. If I have to deal with design, products, structural issues, getting permits, material lined up, all of those things, just me, that's a lot of work just to prep for a job. as one person, whereas when you have a team that can all focus on different aspects of that, it's much quicker to get from the starting point of, hey, I want to do this project, to, okay, we're starting. And B, it's just a lot more thorough, I think, because there's just certain people focusing on certain aspects of the job instead of me like, well, what was that? What was that faucet? What was that, thing we had to do over here that just, I mean, unless you're very extremely organized as a single person trying to do all that, it's not going to be super great.
I mean, here's the thing. I can just tie into that what Brandon was talking about. When all of this started, I was just a one-man show. It wasn't like, oh, I had all these people that helped me, and I had to do all that, right? And I literally, no matter how organized I was, I still had things fall through cracks. I really did. And I would come to the job site and I was like, I didn't even think of that, let alone anything else. But I need it like right now, let alone anything else. So it's really hard when you have that one, when you're focusing on playing all the roles, you're not playing all of them well. You're just filling in, but you're failing miserably. You know what I mean? And my thought was, in order for me to grow, I can't keep doing this. I need to bring somebody on board that can help me with this. So then I can utilize their expertise or what they're good at, whatever they're good at that they can bring to the table. It's like, hell, we're just at a starting point, you just being here delivering the material for me is helping me, let alone anything else. So that's the part that really, when you have more people, you have more people to rely on. And, even to this day, there's going to be a call. It's like, Brandon, where are you at? He's like, oh, I'm in Woodbury. Thank God you are. I need you to stop by on your way here and here to pick this up for me because I had an emergency, or whatever it is. And he does the same thing. So when you have more people, the problems tend to be, no matter how big or small they are, they tend to be a lot quicker solved, and you can get something resolved in one day. Well, if you're by yourself, now in order for me to stop whatever I was doing, go to the job that I'm there, whatever I was going to sell, I'm not going to sell that day because, I just don't have that much time. And then not only are you're trying to sell, you're trying to manage, and you're trying to keep your clients happy that you have. And like we were talked about earlier, answer your phone when that one person is like, well, I already called you 3 times, you didn't answer. It's like, well, if you called 70 times, I wouldn't have answered. It just.
You mentioned this to how it would benefit a client just because of this that's happening inside the team, because you just explained about your experience with the team. So just for the video, transition it to to somewhere where you can talk about the benefits.
So yeah. So there you go. The biggest thing about this is when you're part of the team and when you're working in a larger group of people and you're not carrying the burden all by yourself, as we have here, that's what makes the job a lot smoother, a lot easier. It's organized. It's very well organized. And if I were, for example, tomorrow get sick, the job would still go on. There'll be people who will be able to pick up and finish it, let alone anything else. I mean, I've heard so many stories of like, hey, I'm calling you. We're in the middle of a job. Our contractor got injured or whatever. He's a one-man show. Can you finish it for us? Hell, we had all kinds of medical procedures, surgeries, and what nobody even knew, from our clients, because the job continued going as smooth as it would if we were there or not there. And we're trying to implement so many different tools that, our biggest thing is like, especially now, I try to set up my jobs in a way that whoever comes in and grabs it, by reading a few notes and by reading a few things and looking at a few schedules, should be able to figure out what the next steps are. And we're all working towards that. And with Carissa and doing her portion and doing a lot more detail on the design work, she's putting that in the back end. So then like whatever we need, all of us can find in the same place. It's a little bit different on Ennis's stuff and exterior stuff because that's usually quicker. But we're still trying to even implement that we have all that information in our back end. So if we ever to need it, we can reach it and get that back to the client. So to me, right away, what it tells me about this picture that I'm looking at, it's ultra modern. Whoever lives here is either a single person or a couple without kids. And they everything is wide open, inviting. It's like a hotel type of a bathroom that is showcasing luxurious finishes. With that said, there's really, not even a medicine cabinet where you can put something away because everything is fully exposed. And I would say this is like a escape type of bathroom. This would be your either master bathroom that this is just for me. My kids are never going to be in there. My, maybe even significant other is not going to be in there. But I want it like this. Cost wise, well, this is a very beautiful, sleek, modern design. I would say, based upon what I see just on this picture, this bathroom could be anywhere between $75,000 to $100,000 easy. Other than that, I wouldn't know what else I could say from it.
Do you think I can find someone who can do it cheaper?
You can always find somebody who can do it cheaper. Always. However, if you're going after this look, you're not looking for a cheapest guy, because you might pay for certain things 3 times over if the person who is doing the work is not sure of exactly what they're doing. Based upon what I see, there's a lot of prep work that needs to go behind the walls and that needs to go ahead into. This was very, very well designed and very well executed. And no offense to, anybody, but if you don't have the right person doing this, there's many things that are going to be a failure in this place that would need to be redone, and it can cost you twice as much to redo it than to do it the first time.
Well, I'd say again with this kitchen too, it's kind of the same thing where it's a very modern, sleek.
So the person whoever is watching, they have
Oh,
no
okay,
idea about it.
okay,
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Imagine I'm a client. Now
Yep.
you just want to see, okay, hey Brandon, I really like this design. Is this possible to do this in my place? A typical Minnesota home.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. This kitchen definitely is probably tailored more to a newer home that is already set up for this type of kitchen. Especially, I'm just looking at the big windows in the background that are floor to ceiling windows, and that's a little tougher to add to a house that isn't already set up for it. But otherwise, it's definitely a doable kitchen. Again, it's sleek, modern. There's some aspects of it that are a little more high end. The waterfall countertops, just the lighting, the appliances that are in there are all very high end. This definitely is something that was put together by a designer. But it's definitely something that.
I don't have a big window. What do you think it would be like, cost like, or the process look like to get that wall out and get that window ready?
It would.
Possible for any home?
I wouldn't say any home. I think it's probably doable in a fair amount of homes, but a lot of that would have to go to a building engineer to have them look at what we want to do and tell us if it is possible and how it would need to be done in order for it to be structurally sound.
And you usually don't want to, have your renovation somehow impact the structure in a negative way. It's not going to last that long. I mean, then you're going to have a huge problem.
Yeah.
Where,
When the ceilings start cracking.
well, ceilings
you're gonna
start
have
cracking,
problems.
window starts cracking,
Yeah.
especially if it's from wall to ceiling and there's nothing to carry that weight.
Yep.
So.
What products do you think, or what do you think the cost would look like to get a design like this? Does this have to be completely customized, or can this be very?
This is a very custom kitchen. I'd say probably at least $100,000.
And compared to is there a better option other than, let's say, your rough estimation is about 100,000, but if you were to use different products or different
Ernie.
what are the other recommendations? If I were to just go for the look, not for the quality, would that be possible?
I think.
How can we make that possible?
Well, so if you were trying to cut some costs on it, One of the main issues that you're going to run into is with the cabinets. They're the full overlay frameless cabinets that is pretty not accessible in a box cabinet that you could just go to Menards and buy. It's something that's going to have to be done custom in order to even get that look. Your next best bet would be IKEA, which I wouldn't recommend. With the countertops, there's no way that you're gonna do a waterfall edge on an island at a budget level. A lot of these finishes are just.
I have a feeling that like if you are trying to achieve that on a different level, the amount of changes that would require to reduce the price, you would not have in any way, shape, or form same outlook.
It would be like I can see what they were going for, but it didn't quite hit the mark.
Yeah. I see what inspired it, but they fell short.
Okay, got it. So the reason we do want to, like I mentioned about the prices,
Mm-hmm.
we don't want other contractors commenting and telling there's, people can say it's too expensive, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if some other companies can come in and say, then I just want to message it in such a way like, okay, they won't be able to write anything down, especially when they're contractors, or subcontractors that are just gonna, share down the comments.
I mean, here's the thing. There's always going to be cutthroat salesperson out there that just wants that sale, regardless of what that is. The point that we try to drive home with all of our clients, if they like to hear it or not, is the cost is going to be this if you want that look, and we want to give you everything that you want. Otherwise, when we start taking some of these things away, this is just it's not even a guidance anymore. It's like, okay, we can't use it to say that it's an inspiration because we're changing everything about it, but and guys will do whatever they need to make that next commission, and they're going to say, yes, we can replicate it at this cost, but when it comes to the replication, that's when those changes come in. You're already on the hook for X amount on a contract, but now this is going to be change orders or whatever else in order to give you what you're looking for. And we never want to enter in any way, shape, or form any type of an agreement with a homeowner with these less expectations, and then try to surprise somebody with something. That's never going to be good, and it's not a good working relationship for anybody. So we want to tell people, even I want to tell you the worst case scenario, because it could be that worst case scenario will happen. And in the best case scenario, if we could save you a little bit, we'll do our best to make sure that we get that. And if we're there, great. We did right by you, we did right by us, we did right by everybody, and it's amazing. But once we get those pictures and they're like, oh, but I can get this there, I can get this there, I have a friend that works there, it's like, that's fine if you're gonna go ahead and do it, for your own personal, whatever you're trying to do, go ahead and do it. When it comes to us and the way that we're resourcing and sourcing some of the products and everything else, obviously we're going through reputable companies, warranties, and so on and so forth, that we can offer that back to our clients if there's anything that we need to go back and look at that we can.
So Brandon, for this project, like if you were, let's say we start this project, what products would you recommend from the lines, product lines that you have here at SMC? You think would fitting well with this project?
Well, I think we would need to talk to a custom cabinet builder for the cabinets. We would probably want to talk to our countertop supplier about probably doing some Cambria countertops. We would want to talk to our appliance supplier about some very high-end appliances. There's a lot of electrical details in terms of lighting that would need to be gone over with our electricians. Yeah.
Pow.
Anything that you might have thought you would have covered, but
Well, I think like in terms of kind of what we were talking about on this too, like I don't think we're very interested in trying to cut corners in terms of quality just to give a finished product that looks like it's quality when it's not.
Right.
Both in terms of that's not what we want for our name, and also I don't want the call in a year that, well, my cabinets looked great when we got them, but now that they've been used, now there's problems with them. The doors are sagging, the finish is coming off, things like that, where now we have to go back and fix it.
That's the part too where, like we warranty the product for X amount of, months, year afterwards, the material and labor. And if we're sourcing it, we want to make sure that, as Brandon mentioned, like usually like in some of the IKEAs, that people do use and they're assembled and great. Some are great products, some are really not, but after extensive use of certain, drawers, doors or whatever, the hinges and stuff like that starts to give out, or the way that they're routed in, it doesn't have enough, let's just say solid behind it to hold it and to keep it secure. So then you just end up having problems that, you need to service. We want to go in there. We want to do our best possible job at that time when we're there. And we hope that you're going to enjoy that product for the remainder of your life, whoever it is. And we don't want to do anything where it's like, okay, well, I hope this holds for a year. If it holds for, if we come in with that intention, we're not installing that. We don't want to put that in our house. We don't want to put it in yours or anybody else's, if we know that it's, it's not going to work or if it's going to fail or whatever. But that's our take at least. Brandon, thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
To the audience, like an ending statement.
No. See you guys next time.